Good morning and welcome to the program Aaj Savere. It is said that inclusion starts with an I, and I'm happy to share this quote of the day that appreciates beauty in every child. And the quote says, "It is time for parents to teach young people early on that in diversity there is beauty and there is strength." Our guest today is someone who is a dynamic personality. She loves people and she also has a mission in her life. Her mission is to create a society that is more aware and informed on intellectual disabilities, particularly Down syndrome. Please welcome Dr. Surekha Ramachandran. Dr. Saab, namaskar.
Namaste.
So Dr. Surekha, do tell us, how do we appreciate beauty in every child?
I think it's in the eyes of the beholder. I don't think you're looking at a general public, you're looking at a parent. And for a parent, any child, however different it is, there is beauty. It is about when we talk about beauty, we talk about a flower, we talk about colors, and we talk about the fragrance of the flower. I think all that blends into a little baby that comes into our lives. And I think a lot of people confuse us when they talk about the child being different. A baby born is never different.
But then when we hear that there are children with special needs, differently able, do you think as a society we are more aware now on both, whether it is intellectual disabilities or physical disabilities?
Of course there are people with disabilities and there are people with challenges. We don't even like to use the word disability. It's more a challenge. And I think all of us have our challenges. It's how you handle the challenge. It's not about the person who has the challenge. If society looked at every person who has a challenge as a person first, that he has to be in my society, he must be given a place, he must be given his rightful place, then we would never have a problem.
So now in the recent past we have seen whether it was Devendra Jhajaria who went on to become the first Indian to be awarded Khel Ratna in 2017, first Paralympic player, or Deepa Malik on wheelchair, and many more such role models. We are now more sensitive to physical challenges, but how do we understand intellectual challenges?
Just as much as you've understood physical challenges today, it must have taken us 50 years to understand that. It will take you another 20 years because you have never seen a person. It's only when you see the physical challenges that you are able to think of a person with a challenge. The problem here is that you are not looking at people away from these physical disabilities as a people who have other challenges. Now, a person who cannot get into medical school might feel he's challenged, but that does not mean that he is. So I am saying that people are born with challenges, intellectual disabilities, the word that is used today very commonly. These are people who should be blended in society in a different way, and they should be given their rightful place. It is only about society that we are looking today and talking to. If every person, again and again I repeat, is given that placement, it's about being in the right place at the right time. Now suppose I was given a job of cleaning the house. I'd do an amazing job because I am trying to do it the best ability I know. Now a person who's sweeping the road can also be an MBA student, but he has not been given the choice or the chance to prove himself otherwise. So it's just a question of my chances. If society has already labeled me and put me into a box and said it will never happen, like they did with my daughter 36 years ago, that this child is a complete waste of time. Take her, leave her in an institution, she will die anyhow. Now how do you handle a situation like that? That day I swore that this word will never be used, that a child is a waste, because no child can be labeled. They have a reason to be there, they have potential, and it is our job in life as parents to discover the potential. You know your child is going to get into, everybody has a dream. Their dreams are not to be broken. We are here to give that dream a place.
But tell us more about Bubbly, your daughter, and when was it the first time that you heard this word Down syndrome?
Well, the word Down syndrome was not even used 36 years ago, by the way. We have come a long way, and when Bubbly was born, she was born with various other challenges. She had visual disability, she was born with major visual challenges, so I didn't even know that there was a difference. It's so amusing. When she was born and they brought her in front of me, she had grey eyes. So everybody was worried whether it was actually my child, because nobody in my family has had grey eyes.
Gee.
And I used to think, because I used to really worship Rakhi, so I thought maybe she was, because I was thinking of Rakhi when I was getting pregnant and all that. But I suddenly realized that every doctor in the hospital would come and spend time looking at Bubbly. So I didn't realize at that time that there was something different. No mother can actually spot differences in her child, because to her it is the most beautiful thing she has delivered.
Yes.
The doctors then started identifying the fact that this was called cataract. So I was taken into the hospital when Bubbly was hardly 3 weeks, and for 2.5 years we went through surgeries one after the other trying to rectify her vision. We never managed to do that. Even today Bubbly hardly has 1% vision, but that never stopped her. The other very important thing was that when she was 8 months, they found they had already taken the karyotyping, which never actually was fruitful, because in those days there was the chromosome test was very difficult. The problem was that they did tell me when she was completed about 8 to 9 months that Bubbly has another challenge, which is that she will never be so-called normal. But in those days they used very strong words. They used to call them Mongol children. I didn't know. We had no books. We had nobody to talk to. The doctors didn't know. There was nothing called a computer. There were no websites. There was no WhatsApp groups. So we were just like, okay, so what? To me, I didn't understand the subject, so it was most beautiful. You just look at something that you don't know, you take it even better, I think.
And did visual appearance convey any meaning?
At that time, no. To me, she looked beautiful. And she was just like anybody else. But when people started pointing out that Bubbly has slanting eyes and that low set ears, and she has a very small mouth and the tongue is, sticking out, I said these are only things that they're waiting to pick on. Because I had no one to compare Bubbly with. Today, I find even before the child is born, there are millions of questions. How will my child be, this, that, not. But I'm just saying that with Bubbly, I think every day has been a learning experience, and I have never taught her anything.
Dr. Surekha, do tell our viewers, how did you name your daughter Bubbly?
Well, we are followers of Sai Baba, and I was actually born and brought up in Delhi. So every household here, they name their children Bablu or Bubbly or something. So it must have picked up on that, because they had to put her into hospital as soon as she was born, going for surgeries. They said, name her. I was never given a choice. So the first name that came into my mouth was Bubbly. So I just said, okay, and she's today called the Bubbles, okay? Yeah, because she radiates so much of happiness in our lives.
That is so nice that Bubbly radiates so much happiness in the lives. But do tell us more about Down syndrome. Is it a genetic disorder? How does it happen?
How it happens, I don't think even medical science can explain that to you, because it happens at the time of conception. It doesn't happen like any other thing, manifests at birth or trimester or anything. It is at the time of conception, a child with Down syndrome would have been created. Now, to the common man, it's very simple. You are carrying a child with Down syndrome. It can be actually traced. You can also do, earlier we could not have any way, because we did not have any of scannings or any ultrasounds or anything. Today, the world has developed to such an extent that in the first trimester, a simple blood test can reveal that you have a child with Down syndrome. It's a non-invasive, NIPT that is called. It is so simple, and I really request everybody to go through the initial screening, because I'm not saying that a child with Down syndrome is difficult, but I'm only saying that you would also be mentally prepared.
So every pregnant mother is having equal risk of having a child with Down syndrome?
We don't know about the risk. Anyone is open to risk. There's another way of putting it. So, I mean, I would have never thought that I was on the risk factor. I would have never thought that my child would be born with different, in any way. But it can happen to any person. It comes randomly. It doesn't choose people. It doesn't mean that you are carrying a child with a disease. It's just that the child is different.
So we need to understand it's a medical condition.
Yes.
It's a genetic disorder.
Yes.
It's not a disease.
No.
And also the figures tell a story. In India, we have about 3 crore pregnancies every year.
Right.
And we are saying 0.1% of that, nearly 30,000 cases.
A little more than 30.
A little more than 30,000 child with Down syndrome are there, and therefore we need to be more aware of it.
You not only need to be more aware, this is a condition that has to be dealt with right from the day one.
But how do we do that? Dr. Surekha, help us understand.
Your baby is born.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the first person who sees your little baby will be a pediatrician.
Yes.
We are trying to empower the pediatrician. So we create a 10-point program where a pediatrician must know how to address the issue, because a nervous pediatrician makes the parent nervous.
Yes.
So what we normally do is to tell the parent, the pediatrician, to put it in a very positive direction. The first thing is, a parent will never know what it means to have Down syndrome. He's never read the medical book. None of us read something we don't think we will ever have.
Yes.
Like how many of us would want to read about cancer?
Yes.
Though we all read about it now because it's more there in the air.
Yes.
But with Down syndrome, you'll never imagine your child reaching there. So what we do is we tell the pediatrician to be a little more sensitive. See, the whole issue is about how you break the initial news so that the parent doesn't go into a shell.
And you're saying that the news could actually be broken in the first trimester through the screening test itself?
That is during pregnancy.
Yes.
So, yes, we can do it, and all the genetic labs are available to us.
But if one were to do that test, which is the chromosome test,
yes,
then how does the doctor convey? Two, how does the family receive the news? What are the options? And how do we take the story forward?
Well, Amit, I'll ask you a very simple question. Your wife is pregnant, you go for the initial trimester screening, and the doctor says that your child might be in that group where your wife is carrying a child with Down syndrome. आप क्या करोगे?
बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं. देखिए, एक डर भी होगी, घबराहट भी होगी, और उसे जानने की और कोशिश होगी. और क्या करेंगे आप? अगर जब हमने आपको इन्फॉर्म कर दिया है कि बच्चा इज परफेक्ट, आप मानेंगे नहीं. इंटरनेट में जाके आप वेबसाइट पूरा सर्च करोगे और उसमें तो आपको निकलेगा 90% नेगेटिव. ठीक है जी.
जब पेरेंट्स को मालूम पड़ता है कि बच्चा माइट बी डाउन सिंड्रोम, बिकॉज दिस इज नॉट 100% फुल प्रूफ. आई एम टेलिंग यू,
अच्छा,
इन माय ओपिनियन द जेनेटिक लैब्स विल टेल यू ये 100% फुल प्रूफ है. अच्छा. पर हम नहीं मानते हैं, बिकॉज समटाइम्स ये टेस्ट हो एंड बोल दिया पेरेंट्स को कि बच्चा डाउन सिंड्रोम है एंड दे हैव हैड अ ब्यूटीफुल बेबी.
अच्छा जी, ऐसे
भी हो सकता है मेनी टाइम्स. एंड ऑल्सो जब ये पेरेंट्स हमको कॉन्टेक्ट करते हैं एंड हमने इंफॉर्मेशन उनको बहुत पॉजिटिव दिया है कि बच्चा होता है. आप बच्चे को फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल रिमूव दिस थिंग इन योर हेड, द चाइल्ड इज बॉर्न विथ डिसेबिलिटीज. बच्चा कभी डिसेबल नहीं होता है, जो भी हो डिसेबल नहीं होता है. बच्चा इज ऑलवेज केपेबल. आप जितना आप पेरेंट्स केपेबल बनाओगे उतना केपेबल बच्चा बनता है. अगर आपके दिमाग में ये हो गया कि बच्चा कभी नहीं करेगा तो कभी नहीं करेगा. My only question to you here will be very simple. One, contact us. जो हमको contact बहुत लोग करते हैं. हमारा बच्चा डाउन सिंड्रोम है तो हम क्या करें पहले से ही, तो हम उनको लेके आते हैं, दिखाते हैं, और जब वो बच्चे से मिलते हैं ना, 3 पेरेंट्स went through full pregnancy, उनका बच्चा डाउन सिंड्रोम में आराम से है.
I think this is really heartening. Congratulations to those parents who, once they received the news, went through the pregnancy and the mother gave birth to the child. But since you are the chairperson of the Down Syndrome Federation of India, do tell us that when you say that the parents contact you, at what stage do they contact you, and how does your federation play a counseling role?
Well, after the child is born, it's very simple. I think because the websites have made a huge difference, और हमारा website बहुत बड़ा है. And we are the only website in India basically for as a federation. So parents will call us up because we have given contact numbers, and immediately within maybe about 3 days we are in their homes. So our biggest task is to meet the parents. We don't meet just the parent. Outside the country only parental meetings are there. यहाँ पे family को बुलाते हैं, पूरा family, दादा दादी, everybody has to be there in the room.
Okay.
And जब हम बात करते हैं, they need the support. In our country we are such a beautiful blessed country. जितने भी हैं सब आ जाते हैं, and I've never heard anybody say a negative thing. मदर को इतना सपोर्ट करते हैं, and the way you put it is like, पहले आप बच्चे को देखो, आपको ये अलग लगता है तो मदर के विजन में कभी अलग नहीं लगेगा. So she'll only say, I can only see beauty in my baby.
Yes.
तो वो ब्यूटी को ले लो और उसको डेवलप करते जाओ, और कुछ नहीं करना है.
I think that's a brilliant point for us to take a quick break on the program in conversation with Dr. Surekha Ramachandran, chairperson of the Down Syndrome Federation of India. So let the child be born. Every child is beautiful. But then again, I'm sure in the minds of viewers, there'll be question, what about the life future ahead? What is the adolescent Down syndrome child like? And similarly, how does the journey go forward? We'll talk about that as well, Dr. Surekha, after a short break. वेलकम बैक। आज सवेरे में आज हम बातचीत कर रहे हैं डॉक्टर सुरेखा रामाचंद्रन के साथ। ब्रेक में जाने से पहले हमने जाना कि हर बच्चा जो है बहुत यूनिक है, और अगर डाउन सिंड्रोम से भी कोई बच्चा है तो न्यूबॉर्न से लेकर आगे जो एडोलेसेंट और आगे का जो भविष्य है वो कैसे चलता है? डॉक्टर साहब,
जितना हमने देखा है, द अर्ली इंटरवेंशन प्रोग्राम इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इन द लाइफ ऑफ अ बेबी विद डाउन सिंड्रोम। आपने यू आर लुकिंग एट अ न्यूबॉर्न बेबी एंड उसको लेके वी स्टार्ट अ वेरी वेरी इंटेंस प्रोग्राम which we are now doing for every child with Down syndrome. So we put it into a play group very early, and we also start doing the physical therapy. जो physical therapy होता है हमारे यहाँ पे बहुत intense होता है, because it is very important that this child covers the milestones. The milestones are delayed mostly because of the thyroid and because of the hypotonia. इनका muscles बहुत weak होता है। ये बहुत अलग होता है cerebral palsy से। So we have to look at every child with Down syndrome, look at the muscle tone, and उनको हम develop करते जाते हैं। So our programs are so intense today, and it's so beautiful that because we have what is called the social media network, we quickly put it up on the thing and saying this is your baby, this is what you have to do. So travel करना कम हो जाता है, and you don't have to waste time. So depending on what the child is doing today, 3 months का goal set कर देते हैं।
Okay.
तो हर बच्चे का goal अलग होता है। So it is not that you can generalize. The same thing is with adolescent. जितना आपने पहले काम किया, बच्चा स्कूल जाता है, स्कूल में कभी कभी मुश्किल होता है because our school, though we have the Right to Education Act, ये implement बहुत कम होता है, and you know that a capacity जो बच्चे स्कूल में होते हैं, there are about 60 already in a classroom. तो ये बच्चा वो 60 के बीच में कभी कभी गुम हो जाता है। तो the teachers also don't know, और वो awareness बहुत कम है teachers के बीच में। So we are now trying to push every school to take a few children with Down syndrome. When we are talking about 35 to 40,000 people a year, we have to find placement for them also. So once they have finished a little bit of a schooling and with the peers, ये बहुत बड़ा phase हो जाता है when they are now 11 or 12. Tomorrow your little child is also going to reach that stage, Amit.
Yes.
तब आपको मालूम पड़ेगा कितना मुश्किल होता है, because they are very questioning. ये बच्चे भी वही they have the same feelings. They also want to be with everybody. They want to have friends, and they are also trying to being challenged on the physical aspect. Parents को ऐसा लगता है कि बच्चे को कुछ नहीं मालूम है, तो explain नहीं करते हैं that you're going through a physical transformation, that your body will be also needing all these things. See, a sexual thing that in India is still not discussed openly. ये आपको मालूम है, हमको मालूम है, एंड नॉर्थ ऑफ इंडिया में बिल्कुल नहीं बात करते हैं इसके बारे में। How will you explain to a child that your body will need all of this? How do I satisfy that person?
yes.
So we are openly discussing these things now and saying that you go through a transformation and there will be a desire. There's nothing wrong in going out with a boy or a girl because you have the same feelings. But in India, we always shut our minds. Even your so-called typical child, उसको बाहर भेजने में आपको दिक्कत होता है, you are
yes.
hesitating.
Yes.
Here we are also a little scared of abuse. So we have to teach the child what is right, how to conduct yourself, how to behave with the other sex, and what is right and what is wrong, like anybody else.
So how to break these social taboos? And do you think that persons with Down syndrome can also have a family?
Of course they can have a family. It is in our minds, not in their minds. They want to have a family. My daughter wanted to be married, but my problem is it is the whole family who doesn't support the idea. So if they will fall in love, they will have a partner, but are we ready for it? See, the change has to come from within us, not from them.
Yes.
They are doing only the right things.
Yes.
So, and they have exactly the same feelings we have.
Yes.
But the book says very differently. These children are very happy. They are not very happy. They exhibit the same emotions you and I have. They are sad, they are unhappy, they get angry, they are frustrated. There is no emotion they don't realize. तो कभी कभी इतना गुस्सा हो जाता है उनको because you're not understanding my feelings, मारने को आते हैं because आपके अंदर नहीं होगा, वही typical anger is there building up.
Yes.
So they want to be understood, they want to be loved.
So in terms of the impact it can have on a sibling, do share. You had an elder child, and how did he react and how did he respond to the situation?
आपको एक बात हमको absolutely truthful, हमको वो दोनों अलग नहीं लगे हमको. आजकल के जमाने में ना, बिकॉज ऑफ सो मच ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, इनके जो माइंड होता है वो, ये बच्चा इंटेलिजेंट है, ये नहीं है। हमारे घरों में ही ऐसा होता है ना, होता है कि नहीं होता है? 4 बच्चे हैं, तू अपने भाई जैसा क्यों नहीं करता है? आप नहीं पढ़ सकते हो, ये नहीं कर सकते हो, वो नहीं कर सकते हो। आपको पहले से बोल बोल के हमको बहुत ही, द लैंग्वेज दैट यू यूज, इट शुड बी सो पॉजिटिव। एक बच्चा दूसरे बच्चे के जैसे नहीं हो सकता है। इन माई माइंड, माई सन एंड डॉटर वे नेवर डिफरेंट। जो वो करता था ये करती थी। शी वॉज अ नेशनल स्विमर, वो नेशनल स्विमर था, वो रनर था, ये भी रनर बन गई। तो हमारे दिमाग में जब तक वो डिफरेंस नहीं था, there is no problem.
But there is a difference. You were telling me that your son troubles you more than your daughter.
My son still troubles me more than my daughter. And Rahul is very difficult. Married है, 2 बच्चे हैं, फिर भी difficult है। बबली आराम से जी लेती है। She is such a beautiful child. And everybody asked me, आपने क्या सिखाया उसको? हमने कभी नहीं सिखाया। Everything I learned from her. She has taught me how to conduct, how to behave, because I am pretty wild. वो हमको जरा धीरे धीरे से बात करने को बोलती है and बिठा देती है, because they are such patient people.
Absolutely. So on that patient note, let's take a quick break. But when we come back, we'll ask Dr. Surekha, how did she meet Mr. Ramachandran? And of course, Dr. Surekha is a Delhiite, and then she went to Chennai and got married there after a break. In conversation with Dr. Surekha Ramachandran, Chairperson, Down Syndrome Federation of India. Dr. Surekha, you are a Delhiite.
Yes.
So tell us more about your journey in Delhi, and how was life like? What was your childhood like?
You can imagine how it must have been when we were in college and all that.
Yes.
Yes, it was fun. My father was from the administrative services, and we led a beautiful life where there was no complications. Delhi was a beautiful place at that time. Ab nahi hai. I'm honestly telling you.
Why you say so?
No. 60 years ago, the comparison बहुत कम है. And I don't want to say anything about the Delhi situation today, but I'm happy in Chennai. And not that it's any better, by the way, but I married an industrialist from Chennai, and luckily I married an industrialist, so I can hold conferences. My only objective is that I can use all my funds to help more and more people.
But do tell us, where did you meet Dr. Ramachandran?
Oh no, it's a family thing. Both our families were very close.
Okay.
So it was like more joint. It was like an let's say both love and one educated man in the world. I thought he was.
But what's your philosophy of life? Did you, while pursuing studies here in Delhi University, ever thought that you would then shift base to Chennai and then you will contribute so much?
No,
to
I
the
never.
field?
One thing, Amit, I never thought so much. I live for now. अभी के लिए जी रहे हैं। ये बहुत सोचते हैं ना, तो उनका कुछ नहीं होता है, because honestly I'm telling you, जितना आप सोचोगे अब उतना confuse हो जाते हैं.
But then they say planning is a very critical element of
that's
management.
a very planning for the future, if you know what your future is. जब हम बच्चे होते हैं तो हम plan नहीं करते ना, तो we only imagine that we will marry somebody and live happily ever after. My entire life course has changed after Babli was born. Okay, and really honestly she's given me a purpose.
But do tell us more about the achievements of Babli and what is her personality like these days?
Well, Babli went through the most beautiful childhood, because there was absolutely no confusion in our minds, in her mind. बच्चे जैसे बढ़ते हैं वैसे ही she went to school, she was finished everything, and she went into dancing, she went into music, sports. She's a national swimmer. There was no difference at all between her and my other members of the family. She grew up in a large joint family, which is a very big advantage in those days. And I feel that even today, if the parents understood the value of a joint family system, आजकल कम होता है, but that helps children like this, because बाकी बच्चे inspire this child, you know. And Babli grew up like that. And today, she chose her own direction by saying, I want to teach yoga. So she is actually teaching yoga to other children with Down syndrome.
That's really nice. And do you think that being a yoga instructor also comes natural because of the flexibility that they have in them?
No, we don't try to emphasize on the flexibility, because we have tried to make that perfect.
Okay.
So we don't want, because actually at one point of time we found that children with Down syndrome were used in the circuses. In fact, the Russian circus had a lot of people with Down syndrome, because उनका body इतना flexible था. We don't want that, because later on in life बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है.
But
because they can't sit in the classroom for long, floppy bodies don't sit too long, they can't walk for too long. So we try to make that perfect. So our actually early intervention for 3 years is only perfecting the body. So बाद में मुश्किल कभी नहीं होगा बच्चे को.
But early intervention, when you say it is so critical, it starts from the time the baby is born?
The day one.
Day one. So that's
there would be some complications unless the child is not going for any surgery. 90% of my children are born with some type of a medical condition. One could be cardiac, other could be that they are born without vision, like my daughter was born, or it could be that they cannot pass their motions easily. So we have to look at all the angles, and once we get a clearance from the surgeons, then we start the therapy. But most children go into therapy naturally.
So given that Bubbly is a yoga instructor, would you advise viewers this beautiful morning that for holistic health, each one of us embrace yoga?
Well, I think the Prime Minister himself is trying to gear for that, and thank God that somebody at the head of the organization or the head of my country is telling us to do it. But I think with that, Bubbly has really taught us a major lesson that good health is about doing yoga.
You're watching Aaj Savere, and Dr. Surekha, now I like to focus on the first international conference on Down syndrome, an initiative by the Down Syndrome Federation of India. Tell us more about this conference that happened at India Habitat Center, New Delhi.
It's very simple, Amit. I think our people are not educated enough. The information we are getting is only through what we read on the websites. The people in the world are going into so much research that we need to bring them to India. We need for them to share what the research is about, how much the world has developed in the world of Down syndrome. And I was so surprised. We were quite not expecting more than 100 people to actually enroll for this. We have crossed the 400 mark. It's amazing that the entire country has come together, and we actually have a group called Humsafar where we travel together. So through that group, we have brought everybody into this, and the enthusiasm to learn is so intense that I cannot tell you how excited I am that we are doing this, and this will really help us, because sometimes we think we know everything and this never ends. There's so much to learn.
आज हम बातचीत कर रहे हैं डॉक्टर सुरेखा रामाचंद्रन के साथ. आप डाउन सिंड्रोम फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडिया की चेयरपर्सन हैं. डॉक्टर सुरेखा, यू जस्ट मेंशन द हमसफर ग्रुप, और हमसफर ग्रुप के जो बच्चे हैं वो प्यार से आपको रेखा माँ बुलाते हैं. तो जो आपका सफ़र रहा है अब तक ज़िंदगी में, पलट कर देखते हैं तो क्या लगता है, कितना अच्छा रहा और आगे के लिए क्या लक्ष्य हैं?
हमारा तो वन वर्ड में आई विल टेल यू दैट इट इज़ ऑल लव. जितना प्यार उनसे मिलता है ना, कभी कभी अपनी फैमिली से भी ना मिलता है. तो आई हैव ट्रैवल्ड अ जर्नी एंड आई हैव सीन ओवर 5,600 families. Personally, every family has taught me something different, and it is beauty in this whole thing. With every child that I have seen grown up over the past 36 years, they have come out with some achievement. Everybody is functioning, everybody is physically fit, and I think there's nothing more you need in this. हम सफ़र के लोग जो है ना, हमारे जो extended family है, जहाँ भी जाते हैं, they receive us with so much love. Everybody wants to share, and that is what is so beautiful about it.
Tell us more about the support that you need from the society so that we can have increased awareness. What support do you want, say, from the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India, respective state governments? What is your expectation from the Persons with Disabilities Act?
The biggest thing here is that the one intellectual disabled child who can be easily identified at birth is Down syndrome. So the minute the baby is born, we would like to get the certificates, and the certificates are very difficult to get. So unless you have a disability certificate, you really don't know your statistics. And statistics, when we lose out, we don't have an enrollment of the number of people who we have actually lost in our group. The one is that. The second very important thing is the involvement of the government. ये इतना भी क्या मुश्किल हो जाता है कि आप डिसेबल्ड को अपने सोसाइटी में एक्सेप्ट ही नहीं करो. हमको ना वो राइट्स ही नहीं मिलते हैं. जहां भी जाओ, वी आर पुट इनटू अ सेपरेट ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल. We don't want to be separated. We want to be with the आम आदमी. So you got to understand how difficult it is when the parent is told, आपका बच्चा यहाँ पे फिट नहीं होता है. क्यों नहीं होता है? आपको हम क्यों लगता है कि हमारे बच्चे अलग रखो? ये कोई डिजीज नहीं है. And they are wanting to be with everybody. So unless you make it easier for us, जहां भी हम जाए, आओ, बोलने में क्या होता है? My point is there should be an open society, open mind. The whole country has to wake up that disability is not going to be pushed off. Anybody can have a child with Down syndrome. It is not written that you will not. So I cannot tell you the pain because you do not know it till you have it.